Hello, this is Father Michael Nasser coming to you from St. Nicholas Orthodox Church here in Grand Rapids, Michigan, with this week's midweek reflection. And today I'm reflecting on the cross. As you may or may not know, today is the feast of the elevation of the Holy Cross. Well, I won't spend time going into that now. You can Google it, look it up. It's a beautiful feast, but the focus, of course, is on the cross. And you know, the cross is interesting in the sense of a symbol of our faith. For us as Orthodox, symbols bring things together. They don't stand instead of other things. They bring things together and they stand them together. So in the symbol of the cross, we have really the crux, another word that means cross, the crux of the matter of the faith. And that is, for us Christians, it is centered on the cross of Christ. And we are called to carry that cross, to carry our cross as well. We hear that in the readings before, during, and after the Feast of the Cross, that Christ suffers. We heard that in the gospel for today's feast, and we're going to hear on Sunday that we need to carry our own crosses if we're going to follow Christ. In some ways, that's a very unlikely thing. How do you found a faith on a God who sends his Son to die such a horrible and shameful death on the cross? A very unlikely thing to do. And then how do you base a religion on the fact that the followers are going to do that same thing, that they're going to sacrifice themselves? They're going to give themselves in love for God and for their neighbor, in loving sacrifice. It's not a very likely kind of religion. If you're going to design a religion, it's a very unusual one in many ways. It's very strange in many ways. And yet, as unlikely as it is that we are people of the cross, that we believe in the Christ that who's crucified, who calls us to carry our own crosses, as unlikely as that might seem, it's also in some ways very understandable, very clear, and a very likely thing to do. And not just for Christians. If you think about it, if you were to ask all kinds of people, if you want to believe in a God, would you want the God who loves his people enough to sacrifice, or would he demand sacrifice of his people? We would all say, I want to believe in a God who sacrifices, who doesn't just want sacrifice. If we were to ask for what philosophy of life do you think is most optimal for people, for individuals, for families, for society, is it one in which people sacrifice for the other or demand from the other to sacrifice to them? Again, people are going to say, no, we should give to each other. We should be the one to sacrifice. We should be the one to lay down our life for the other. Jesus said that. No greater love has anyone than for one to lay down their life for their friends. And he was talking about himself, and he was talking about his followers. Again, on the one hand, very unlikely, but if you think about it just from a logical perspective, it's a very likely, a very wonderful thing that everyone, really, if they're being honest, would agree on. It's the best way. The way of the cross, really, as unlikely as it might seem, I think if everybody understood what that meant, we would have 100% agreement worldwide that it's the best way. It's the most likely way we should choose to live if we're going to choose a philosophy or a guideline for us to live. So for us as Orthodox Christians, I think it's important for us, yes, to recognize this is a strange faith, a God who does things that are unexpected on the one hand. On the other hand, very clear, really what should be expected. We would all actually prefer, if we think about what kind of life we want to live, what kind of universe we want to live in, what kind of God we want to believe in. So here's to celebrating our very unlikely, likely faith. And I hope that we would just understand it more and more each day, to follow the way of the cross more clearly, more closely, and to understand our God more clearly and closely, and the life that he has given to us, the way he's already sacrificed for us before he asks us to sacrifice for our neighbors and for those around us. So I hope we'll do that. I hope we'll follow the way of the cross, and may God bless us as we continue that journey. I hope you found this helpful, and if so, please share it with your friends via social media or email any way you want. And God willing, we'll see you in next week's video.